campus and get everybody into a classroom and lock them away is just impossible from a feasibility standpoint from the community college's perspective. Again, we are concerned about safety, but we feel that this is an issue best addressed at the local level, where we have campus police that can work with administration, faculty, and staff to determine what is best for the community in which these colleges are located. So we respectfully oppose and would ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Ian Padilla with the CCFC, which is the Community College Facilities Coalition. We must also regretfully oppose, and I associate my comments with my colleague. In particular, we do see some differences with K-12, and we think those are significant, and some of those were mentioned. Certainly, the mandate on community colleges is more onerous than K-12 because the FIELD Act applies to all projects that exceed $25,000. And also, we think that because community college is populated primarily by adults, there are some differences, and we have also heard from our members that local police departments have maybe some different advice with regard to this bill, in particular locking from the outside. We have had a couple of our members who said that that is superior for the reasons stated. So again, in the interest of time, we respectfully oppose and ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Are there additional witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, are there questions from the panel? Mr. Shajian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Portantino, I have a few concerns. I don't know if you want to answer, or let me pull them up, because some questions were brought up. When the young lady spoke also as a mother that you can only lock it from outside, was that done purposely because there are safety features that somebody thought that you shouldn't lock it from inside? That's one question. Because I know schools have different codes, state codes. They have.
Well, I think it went back to the time when schools were open and you wanted to lock the classroom so people could walk down the hall, but not get into individual classrooms where there were personal items of the teachers and the students. So the idea was to keep people out. So the custodial staff would have access to the classroom through the outside lock. But the person walking down the street, I mean, I remember going back to visit my high school. I could walk down the hall, but I couldn't go into a classroom. Mm-hmm. And so the times have changed a little bit. Now, unfortunately, we have to worry about the safety of the student inside the classroom during school time. So the outside lock isn't necessarily germane to the current circumstance.
My other question is, if I may have a couple of... in the text, it mentions if it's existing school that's going through modernization, however you describe that, if they're just changing a glass on a window, is that considered modernization? Is there a dollar figure that if you reach above that, then this law kicks in?
We were trying, or the author was trying to say that if you're modernizing the classroom, then you would do the lock. If you're modernizing the roof or the hall or the gym, this would not kick in. It's if you're actually doing work within that classroom.
Just for that classroom, or and then the entire classroom?
Well, it's only where you're actually doing modernization. So if you're doing, again, tell me if I'm wrong, if you're doing Hall A, you wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to do Hall B.
Okay, so that clears it for me. One more. Why not keep the colleges out of the picture, understanding that, and I can see it both ways. Obviously, in high school, you need more control and different setup. Different age group attend college, even though some of, like myself, after high school, I attended community college, so I was at that age were considered, growing up, but not all there yet. So can we, because the colleges, and I stand to be corrected, if they're out of the picture, then they will pull their opposition off.
Well, I think the issue with the colleges is if you're locking somebody in a classroom, they have less freedoms than if they're locking themselves in the classroom. So the person inside the locked classroom, if it's an inside lock, always has the option of unlocking and leaving. Mm-hmm. But if it's locked from the outside, that person doesn't have that ability to let themselves free.
And the same policy applies that if they were remodeling, modernizing, however you want to put it, that it only applies for that specific
Right.
hall, classroom, whatever it may be.
Right, and the point I would make to the community college folks is there is a difference between a college student and a third grader. College student's a bigger target.
Yes.
Mr. Lara?
Just a couple questions. Do you know if the authors worked with any law enforcement agencies to figure out if how we work this? I mean, I want to make sure that our law enforcement professionals, who kind of know how to prevent these type of things from happening or protect our public, are being engaged.
Yeah, I think we have an answer to that.
Yeah, Assemblymember Lada, this bill, as I mentioned in my testimony, is subsequent to our bill, or the successor to our bill last year, and we did not intentionally, it just didn't come up, where we had law enforcement participating in providing testimony or airing their position. We're happy to engage it with them, though.
I would just encourage the author, if we can, include law enforcement agencies in this discussion. I think they're an important part of keeping our folks safe. And then, lastly, I'm just trying to look at the section here on the higher ed portion. I think we would probably need some sort of amendment to clarify the scope of the modernization project before the requirement kicks in. Is that something we're willing to look at?
Oh, absolutely. We made that amendment in Assembly Education Committee, and if there needs to be some clarification of that, we're happy to do that. Absolutely.
Okay, if we can just work with committee to do that. I just want to make sure we're clear about that.
Absolutely. And could I add that, many of our, the locals that we represent, you heard from Diana Ramon from the Coast Community College District, that local represents school security officers, and they are in full support. So.
Absolutely. I definitely want to keep my classified employees and everybody safe. As a former classified employee myself in K through 12.
For me as well. Thank you.
I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Portantino.
One final question, if I may, Mr. Chair. How would we be assured of the amendments proposed by Mr. Lara? Is there a process for that?
I think the chair would, Mr. Block. Question is, there's been some questions raised about the threshold of what a modernization project is. Mr. Lara raised the issue, and Mr. Chajian wants to know how those amendments can be tracked, so to speak. And I would imagine that Mr. Mendoza would run them by you as chair.
Will you commit on behalf of Mr. Mendoza?
Is that okay?
We'll let the committee know.
Yeah, his staff is saying yes, and that.
We'll then inform the committee of progress.
It was explained to me how I trusted that is the way it's going to be, but not knowing exactly the process, I would appreciate that reassurance.
And Mr. Mendoza's staff is saying that they'll follow up at your office as well.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was, if I may, it was our thought that when we left Assembly Education Committee that would apply to the entire bill for K through 14. But if there is a question about that, we certainly want to clarify that, and we're very supportive of that. Okay. We wouldn't want to do it for K-12 and not do it for community colleges.
Any further questions from the committee? We have a motion by Mr. Lara, a second by Mr. Fong. The motion is do pass as amended to Assembly appropriations. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Block.
Block aye.
Block I, Donnelly. Asajian. Asajian I, Brownlee. Fong. Fong I, Galgiani. Galgiani I, Lara. Lara I, Miller. Miller no. Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino I. 6-1.
Thank you.
6-1, your bill is out. Now we are holding the roll open on several.
Mr. Chair, how about the consent?
We have consent.
I move the consent agenda to be approved.
Okay, thank you. Second. Moved by Mr. Sajian, second by Mr. Lara, that we adopt the consent calendar. Thank you. The consent calendar consists of
Item 5, AB 636 Knight. Item 7, AB 668 Block. Item 8, AB 670 Block. And item 10, AB 1056 Fong. It's been moved and seconded. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Block.
Block aye.
Block I, Donnelly. Asajian. Asajian I, Brownlee. Fong. Fong I, Galgiani. Galgiani I, Lara. Lara I, Miller. Miller I, Portantino. Portantino I. 7-0.
7-0. That bill is out. Now the first bill we heard today, we didn't have a quorum, so there's not a motion yet. It's Mr. Solario's bill. Moved by Mr. Portantino, seconded by Mr. Miller. Item 3, AB 405. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Block.
Aye.
Block I, Donnelly. Asajian. Asajian I, Brownlee. Fong. Fong I, Galgiani. Galgiani I, Lara. Lara I, Miller. Miller I, Portantino.
6-0. That bill is out. Now, we have bills on call, and we have members who may wish to add to other bills that are not on call. We will wait, let's wait 2 or 3 minutes. If anyone's watching on camera, now is your time to come down here. We'll get to this in just 2 minutes. Give other members 2 minutes to arrive. Ready to go now? Okay. All right. Let's move to Mr. Lara's bill. This is AB 844, item number 9.
Asajian. Brownlee. Fong. Fong I, Galgiani. Galgiani I, Portantino. Portantino I. 5-2.
5-2, that bill is out. Let's move now to let's move to Mr. Wajkowski, AB 450. Secretary, please call the roll.
Asajian. Fong. Fong I, Galgiani. Galgiani I, Miller. Miller no, Portantino.
5-2, that bill is out. We now move. Let's move to Mr. Furutani's bill. This is AB 1326, item 11.
Fong. Fong I, Miller. Miller no, Portantino. That's on the wrong one. Let's see. Fong. 4-3, yeah.
Okay, that bill is back on call. We now move to Mr. Solario. Did his bill get out? Okay, Mr. Fong, we've got a couple of bills that you can add on to if you wish to. And Mr. Miller, there may be bills for you to add on to also. Mr. Miller, which bill do you wish to add on to?
Item 2, Hernandez.
Item 2, Hernandez. Good.
Okay. Fong.
Fong I.
Fong I, Miller.
This is Hernandez.
372. Miller I, Portantino. So that's 8-0.
8-0. That bill is out. What's the other Fong bill? AB 661.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a real good one.
Okay. Okay. AB 661. Brownlee.
That's your
Community College baccalaureate degree.
not voting.
Okay. Fong.
Not voting.
Okay, it's
6-0. That bill is still out. As well as should be. Yeah.
AB 85. So AB 85. Brownlee, aye. Okay, so that makes it 1, 2. So that's 7-1, right? 7-1.
7-1, that bill is out. 7-1, that bill is out.
And Brownlee, 405. Okay, AB 405, Brownlee. Brownlee, aye. So it's 7-1.
Okay,
Oh, and
405.
Portantino? Portantino, aye. So that makes it 8-0.
Which bill is this?
That was AB 405.
AB 405 is
8-0.
8-0, so it is out. Anything?
Hang on.
I understand.
Okay. Okay, AB 844.
844, Brownlee, aye.
Brownlee, aye. Asajian? No. Asajian, aye. No. And that's it.
6-3, that bill is out.
No. No. And let's see, Mr. Fortantino on 1326. Okay, AB 1326.
Chairs and I?
Yes. Portantino, aye. It's 5-3.
Okay, 5-3 on the Furutani bill, so that is out.
Consent. Let's do this.
Moving to the consent calendar, go ahead.
On the consent calendar, Brownlee.
Aye.
Brownlee, aye. So that makes it 8-0.
Consent calendar 8-0 is out. We will hold consent calendar open for Mr. Donnelly, who should be back shortly.
Number 4 for me, AB 450.
AB 450, Asajian.
No.
Asajian, no. Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye.
And I've got 372.
6-3.
6-3, that is out.
372, I think is the only one you have left, right?
AB 372, Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye. That's 9.
9-0, that is out. We have one bill remaining on call. That is the, not on call. We have one bill remaining open. That is the consent calendar. Nothing is remaining on call, as I understand it.
Correct.
We will hold the consent calendar open for 5 more minutes. Mr. Donnelly, hurry.